Hey, how's everybody doing out there? I'm Henry Grampietro, and as you all well know by now, the third edition of my book is out. It came out a little while ago, but some people asked for it down at Thomas Auto Parts and Papa's Hardware, and they were out. So I just wanted to let everyone know that a new shipment came in, and you can get them, again, at Thomas Auto Parts, right down there on Route 9, and Papa's Hardware, which is right across from the uniform store, Trippy's Uniform Store. Anyway, also, the other books are also there. When the Milkman Came to the House, which is my second edition, second book, and the first one, which was Dad's at Work and Mom Can't Drive. And basically what these books are about for you people that don't have them or didn't get them, it's not about me, it's about the time. It's about the way we grew up, the way Little League was, the way the schools were. And what you have to remember, the teachers we had in school in those days, the postmen, everyone that was, all the adults that were around us, especially men, these guys were all World War II veterans. They were hard guys, but they were tough guys, but they were fair guys. And that's what it goes into talking about. Just about what life was like. Certain things like, again, when people used to get milk delivered to their house, you don't see that anymore. And I was telling the kids at school one day, because I substitute teach at Shrewsbury High, out in the afternoon you see all these cars lined up for parent pickup. Parent pickup? We never had that. We had one car in our family, and my dad went to work with it. My mother quit school in the 8th grade to take care of her family, and my father worked in a factory after graduating from boys' trade school. So, times have changed. And basically what these books do is depict that. So anybody that didn't grow up during that time, they can pick these books up and see what it was like living in those days. People that lived during that time, they can relive the past. Maybe they don't want to, but it does bring back some excellent memories. But my third edition is this book right here. I wanted to do a picture book about Shrewsbury, and not just Shrewsbury, but national stuff too, national headlines. It's called A Walk Through Shrewsburys Past, and it's right here. I can show you right on the camera. Now, also, one of the pictures on the front of this book is a group of cheerleaders back around 1957, 58, around there. And the cheerleader at the top of the pyramid is the lieutenant governor's mother. Karen Polito's mother is the top of the pyramid. She was quite a cheerleader in her day. And also is a picture of a schoolyard in front of a door. It's the old Henry Hollow School. That school used to be right off Route 70 and Holden Street, which is now condominiums. And that's one of the things I try to do. Bring old pictures into it, let people know what Shrewsbury used to be like, and also, where to get the books, which I already mentioned, Thomas Auto Parts and Papa's Hardware. I dedicated the book to a very, very good friend of mine. He was like an older brother, Nello Coppolati. Nello was like an older brother to me. He was a great baseball player, great football player, great athlete altogether. And he passed away about a year ago, and it was very, very traumatic to me and most of the people, because Nello was always the type of guy that would do anything for anyone. If you needed help, Nello would be there. So I thought it would be fitting to dedicate the book to him. Another thing that I tried to do is I tried to get other things, and not just local stuff. It's things like, do you remember the old cigarette commercials? Camel cigarettes. I tried to put that in so that you could see just what the old magazines ads were. And some of those old cigarette commercials were very innovative and very creative. So I always try to show that. Another thing too, if you look in this book, I have old movie ads right here. The Fighting Sullivans came out in I believe it was 1942 or 43. It was actually used as a recruiting tool for the services. It was the 5 brothers that went on the same ship, and it was torpedoed, and all 5 of them went down. That's one of the movies. Also, see here, Private Hargrove. Brings you back to 1940, 1941, where hamburger was 17 cents, steak was 35 cents a pound. Prices that we can't even imagine today. But again, it was all relative. That's one of the things. Another thing I like to bring out, an old Shrewsbury High faculty, 1941, Shrewsbury High faculty. Some of these teachers were still there when I was there. A lot of them had retired, but a lot of them were still there. Mrs. Salucci, Mr. Balka, who was our art teacher, right in this school right here. This is the old North Shore School. I tell the kids when I substitute teach, you know where Parker Road Preschool is? Well, you know what? That was North Shore School. And that's what I try to do. Old pictures of the faculty. another thing that's very, very interesting. 1954 prices. If you look at it, average income, $3,960. That was average income in 1954. A new car cost $1,700. A new home, $10,250. These are averages. A loaf of bread, 17 cents. A gallon of milk, 92 cents. So you can see what I try to do is put everything in perspective with these books. And another thing too, a lot of our mothers didn't drive in those days. I know my mother didn't. She more or less stayed in the house and made sure when my dad came home, everything was ready for him for supper. Supper was at 5 o'clock. Now, we eat here, we eat there. And another thing, we never went out to eat. I don't know, I can't even remember a time when we went out to eat as a kid. Now, it's commonplace. You go to Burger King, we go to Jimmy's Tavern, we go to Nick's, we go to get pizza, whatever. But in those days, everything was cooked. And as far as supermarkets, there was one supermarket in the area. Well, actually, A&P was the supermarket, but Alando's was the first modern supermarket. And that came into being, well, they were there before that, where the TD Bank North is now. It was a little family store. And then they built where T-Mobile is now, was Alando's Market. So that's another thing I show. And one of the very, very interesting stories in my book, and if you get it, you can read it. It's about a girl named Jean Goodell, who played center field for the boys' baseball team. Now, this is in 1943. Now, in 1943, you didn't see girls playing baseball with the boys. But the story is here. The baseball coach needed someone. It was during wartime, so he went to watch a girls' softball game. Lo and behold, he selected her. She didn't want to play at first, but she gave it a shot. And the rest of the story is right in here, how she did. I think you'll be very surprised. Other things, too, that I like to do, this is always a picture I like to put in. It's a picture of me as an 18-year-old, 17-year-old playing basketball for Shrewsbury High School. And the caption is, I wasn't a very good basketball player, but I'll tell you, I look good in a uniform. And I guess that has to count for something. So when you think about it, I have old grade school pictures in here. I try to get every school involved. Patton School, right here, North Shore School, Henry Harlow School, Coolidge School. And I got help from a lot of different people. They would send me these pictures. But the difficult part was naming everyone. And we spent a lot of time looking at these pictures, trying to name everyone. Little League pictures. We have Little League pictures in here also. Little League rosters. It drives me crazy because a lot of times, like 1951 Little League. So I would try to find someone that still lives in Shrewsbury in 1951 that's in that picture, that still lives in Shrewsbury today. Now, whether or not they will know everyone in the picture, it doesn't always happen. So where I could, I'd put the names. And I think when you people look at it, you're going to see people you know in here. There's no question about it. You will see people you know. It'll make you think of things. In fact, you won't believe this. This is actually a quote from an Old Town report. The General Artemis Ward branch is a busy and growing adjunct of our library. Mrs. Susie A. Mitchell, who has charge of the work at the branch, reported the demand for more books in the Italian language. Now that's from the Shrewsbury Town Clerk's report of 1920. So that kind of gives you an idea of how ethnically the town was in this section down by where Spags was at that time. I also have a picture of Spag in there, a picture of one of the badges each one of the employees wore. And, another thing too, you don't realize just how much time has gone by. Certain things like a telephone booth. I have a picture of a telephone booth in here. And a telephone booth you don't see anymore. In fact, I asked one of the kids in school today, do you ever see a telephone booth? She said, yeah. I said, where? She said, in Europe. Oh, okay, well, they're still there, I guess. But here, and another thing that I bring up, in some of these books, smoking was everywhere. The teachers smoked, not in the classroom, but they would go into the book rooms, they would go into the teacher's lounge, they would go into the cafeteria and have a quick smoke between classes. And you don't see that today. That's a no-no. I can remember our coach, when I played baseball, he was smoking on the bench. So these are the things that I bring up that, it's kind of ironic that it's all changed today. In fact, when I was a kid growing up, I was in charge of cleaning the ashtrays. My mother smoked Chesterfields, my dad smoked cigars, and my grandfather smoked Camels. Now, if any of you ever smelled Camel cigarettes, you'd realize they're not too good to smell. It's kind of, it's putrid. My job was to clean the ashtrays. We had a floor model ashtray. You take the top glass part out and you kind of clean it off. I used to hold my breath. And I think that's why I never smoked or drank my whole life, because early on I was indoctrinated into that. Our ceilings in our house, we lived over on Baker Ave over here, our ceilings were yellow from the smoke. And I can remember looking at my grandfather's first 2 fingers, and they were green from the tobacco and from the nicotine on his fingers. You know, and he worked at Norton Company, so he inhaled stone dust there, and he smoked Camel cigarettes. By the time he was my age I am right now, he had no lungs left. So I try to put in perspective, it wasn't all good in those days. It wasn't all bad. It's not all good today, but it's not all bad today. And I always try to say, if we could incorporate the good things from the past with the good things now, I think we'd have a hell of a society. It would be great. It would be nice. So, you know, in retrospect, I like to think that we had a lot of fun back then. We can have a lot of fun now. So that's why I wrote these books. Didn't think anybody would be interested, but I did want to just wrap it up by saying they're available at Thomas's. This is our 4th shipment we got in. They go out as fast as they come in. They're available at Papa's Hardware, and soon to be available at Greendale Physical Therapy. So you might want to check those out. And I know some people came down to Thomas's looking. They weren't there. And I felt bad about it, so I had to reorder some books. Anyway, that's my story for today. I just wanted to let everyone know that the books are available. And I hope you guys have as much fun reading them as I did writing them and looking for the pictures, because it took a long time. This book alone took about 3 years to do. Just getting every picture right, trying to get it centered right, and trying to put it in the right spot. And I had a couple of TV programs on there, but obviously Amazon wouldn't let me do that because it's infringement and copyright. So I had to go back and substitute pictures that were there, and I had to take those out and put new pictures in. So if you do get a chance to buy come and get these, enjoy them, look at the past, and think what we have now as opposed to back then. Not all good back then, not all bad back then, same as now. So in ending, good luck, and take a ride down to Thomas's or Papa's and see if you can get those books. Thank you.